If you believe that exercise is punishment, you need to change that mindset. So if you believe that exercise is punishment, because that is ingrained in a lot of us, a lot of this comes from deficits that I had as a child. When I was in college, I was like 300 pounds. I did not view exercise as something that was beneficial to me. It was like, all right, I'll do this exercise because it's beneficial to the sports outcome from playing college football during the summer. And so I understand that. However, if that's the only perspective that kids are taught, it's going to be challenging for them to overcome that later in the life. Like, why am I going to go punish myself? Why am I going to do this exercise thing? I better get the outcome that I want immediately, and then I can quit. They don't view it as like a long-term benefit to their health. Welcome to another episode of the Strong Family Project podcast. I'm Joe, joined by Mel. And today we have a special episode for you. We've been putting this one off for a while, but I think it's so important as an opportunity to grow together as a family, help your kids build super long-term healthy habits, and to improve your relationships in the household. Mel, get us started.
Welcome back to the Strong Family Project podcast, where we guide you on the path to raising confident, independent, and resilient children in a strong family environment.
Somehow we're over 50 episodes, and I've been pushing this topic back because there are some other professionals in the field that I want to bring on and talk about it, so I didn't want to fatigue the topic. However, this is something that's right up my alley and something that is critical for a family to do, which is care about your wellness and health and fitness, and it's something we haven't talked about yet. And so my background, after teaching high school, started a fitness facility. We trained mostly youth athletes for a number of years, have personalized and written and guided athletes and adults in almost 100,000 different workouts. Been featured in Men's Health, Men's Fitness, Experience Life magazines, 5-time speaker at the National Training Conference, and I buried all that to talk about this parenting stuff, but you can see I'm getting eager. The only reason why I share that background information is because I want you to feel confident that the 10 tactics I'm sharing with you today, the 10 rules to get the fittest family on the block, are going to be backed with some science. It's just not, hey, here's what happens in our basement, what happens for our household. There's a lot behind this, and that's why I want to share these 10 with you, plus a bonus one where I'm actually going to give you an example workout program you could do. So the tactical stuff, if you don't write exercise programs, which is perfectly fine, it's something that I am passionate about, I'm going to give you a very simple version, number 11, as a bonus that you can start implementing with your family of nearly any age. So on these longer episodes, we like to do a special segment at the beginning. Mel and I just finished our workout. That's why we're dressed the way we are. For those watching on YouTube, that's why I got my big red cup, my beverage, for my post-workout beverage. I love today's workout because it's on Saturday when we record the podcast, I get to do some of the things that I just want to do instead of the things that are checking a lot of the health boxes. And so we had this morning's workout, and we've been working out together for a while. Mel, what is one, off the top of your head, one of your most favorite exercises from the last few months and least favorite?
Let's see. One of my most favorites, surprisingly, is the box jumps. I've really been enjoying them. It's like something I never used to do, and it's not the typical thing you would do. Not even like a step up. It's just like that athletic jump onto a plyo box, and it's very exciting for me.
It is funny that you get sore arms from that, from the big, powerful swing.
Yes. Least favorite?
Well, hold on for a second. I want to put a caveat in there for people that know exercise and might think, box jumps are dangerous. If applied wrong, they could be. So we have a big foam box. I believe it's 100% foam. It's very oddly light. And so no one's banging shins off it. We used to jump in high school. We used to jump on a teacher's desk and down. That wasn't like something we did randomly. That's what our coach had us do, is want a teacher's desk down in the weight room until one person missed and scraped all the way down their shin. A guy named Adam that put him out for 2 weeks. And then we move on to the wooden ones. We moved on. When I was growing up, we used to use a brick wall. Thankfully, I didn't bang my shins off that. But there is a safe version, and we're not doing things like, all right, jump up and down on this 100 times. It's do 2 or 3 times and feel what it is like to be athletic again as an adult and work on the landing, and then step off and land for deceleration, which there's a lot of studies behind that deceleration, your ability to control your body and slow it down, is going to be critical for your longevity. So think of an adult walking down a flight of stairs or stepping off a curb. They're seeing a number of injuries that happen during that as adults get older. Knees, hips tip over, wrists even. My mom did that to a wrist tip over and did a wrist, I think, stepping off a curb, and working on deceleration helps prevent that from happening. So when we say box jumps, it's not get a box and jump on it till you're puddle, because when you are an exhausted puddle, you're probably going to bang your shins off it, and that's not great. So that's why you want to stick on till I get to number 11 and explain the program to you, or a version of a program. All right, so I'm glad you like the box jumps. Me too, when I have the energy for them. Go ahead.
They're fun. So 3 things come to mind for the least favorite. The basket one, what is that called?
Hanging baskets.
Hanging baskets, supine rows, and then the bike. And I have to say the worst is the bike. I don't mind the hanging baskets anymore because I'm better at it. Supine rows, I feel stronger at it.
Yes.
So I no longer hate those, but I will.
Let me explain what supine rows is for a second.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Fast. So
I'm
it's
sorry.
called supine row, recline row, Australian row, I've heard it called recently, because it's from down under the bar. Where you put a bar in a rack, you grab it. It's like the opposite of a push-up, and pull it up to your chest. You're rowing your body weight up to the bar. You can do so with straight legs, up on a bench, with bent knees based on your abilities, but it's like a body weight rowing motion.
So I have to choose the bike, or the particular bike we have. I don't know, that I won't get on it. As soon as I start moving my legs, I hate life. But the one thing I like about the bike is that Everett will get on it and he will fan me, because it creates like quite the wind. So I don't mind when he cools me off with the bike.
Mel's got a terrible attitude about the bike. And when people have a terrible attitude, I guess this would be number 12. You can let them, don't make them do things that they absolutely hate. There's some things you got to do for overall health. But if they give them 1 or 2 things that they don't have to do, if they've got a terrible attitude and they get grumpy about it.
I'm just being totally honest.
Yes. All right. Do you have a topic to get us in? Do you have a segment topic?
Do I have should it be workout related?
Yep.
Okay, then. What exercise do you think you could do the most of in a row?
I think I could walk forever.
Okay.
Indefinitely.
Okay, just keep walking.
For at
I
least
believe
3
it.
days till I got tired.
Okay.
You think I can walk for 3 days?
Yeah, I think you could. I thought you were going to pick some. No, no.
like
I'm going to regret this question.
Yes, last week I flew in for a company retreat in Seattle for some work and workshop. And my new thing over the last 3 or 4 years is, it initially came out of going to speak at a conference, national training conference in Nashville. Maybe I have the name wrong, but it was the NSCA. And I just don't like Ubers, and I don't like necessarily going to a new area and be out of my comfort zone, meet new people, and do all this different stuff until I'm settled. So I don't like to get out of the airport. This was a little while ago. I was like, I just don't want to call an Uber. I'm just going to walk to the hotel, like 7 miles. That's not bad. And so I took my luggage and walked from the airport to the hotel. It wasn't great. I didn't pack for it. It was like a lot of heavy stuff, and it started to snow a little bit, which I didn't expect. But then I started to make it a challenge. And so on this retreat from Seattle to almost the border of Canada, did a little bit with a friend. We explored an island. He dropped me off, and I went straight shot. It was like 74 miles walk with my luggage. And I say walking, but I don't say it with a grain of salt. Like, I've done some good walking challenges. It lets me explore cities. It lets me create a little separation between the hectic nature of home life and whatever I need to execute on where I'm going. So I've done that one. San Diego was my favorite one. Walked out first time I saw the Pacific Ocean, walked through San Diego, got to see all the ships down there, and walk up to the Airbnb. That was like a 25, 26 mile one. Newark's the pits. It's almost impossible to get out of there. Did that one once, but now I'll take like an Uber just to get away from the area so it's not dangerous. Orlando's terrible walking city. I was surprised. I thought maybe it'd be more friendly with all the tourism for Disney, but it is really hard to walk in Orlando. And a couple other ones, but I do walking, and it's not. It originally came out of my disdain for trying to learn new technology, because I am like a really old person, even though I'm in the 40s now, but I feel like, man, I just don't want to do new tech anymore. And it came into something like, all right, this actually is helpful for me to create some separation, clear my head, clear my thoughts, start working through some things in my head, explore a city. So I've enjoyed it.
What's cool is it may have started as a challenge, and someone might say, there's no way I could walk that. But here's the thing, out of that challenge, you have been able to see all these cool cities. You got able to enjoy the ocean. Like, so much more comes from challenges than what you might initially anticipate. Because I think when you first hear challenge, I think, oh, it's going to be hard. But then so much cool stuff comes from it.
Yeah,
right.
Like, oh, you could get lost. Oh, you got to carry your luggage. Oh, it could be hot. Oh, you have to do your laundry. We told someone else on a fitness podcast, parenting and fitness one, like, hey, I'm going to do this challenge. No, don't do that. Like, you know what? I am going to do that.
You know, now I have
your
to.
opinion's irrelevant.
I must say, I expertly packed your bag, though. So you had a little bit less than you would have normally had. Because 75 miles was probably triple what you've done before in terms of airport to where your destination was.
Yeah, I think the marathon was usually my limit before in San Diego. Yeah. That was about it. You did a great job packing. Got it all in the hiking bag. I was able to find it. Basically, it could be a whole separate podcast. I brought 1 liter of water, and Mel gave me 2 Ezekiel bread and walnut butter sandwiches, and I got hungry and ate one on the plane. So I had 1 sandwich and 1 liter of water, but I knew it was going to be closer to highways. And it turns out there's just amazing blackberries up there now. I think the local population views it more as like a negative crop because it's just like everywhere. And I don't know if they can control the spread of these blackberries is what they were. Man, I had a ton of those. Probably had 2 pounds of blackberries.
That's awesome.
Stopped at a gas station, got a 2nd liter of water, refilled my first, and it all worked out as part of the adventure. And that'll get to my point on number 8. But let me get rolling with number 1. That was a good question, Mel. So the first thing you need to do when you're looking to have the fittest family on the block, and I'm just using that as a saying, it's not like a you versus someone else's game. It's you versus you game. But it's just a good way to think about, okay, we got to do things a little bit differently than perhaps other people around us. And that's why I'll use that saying. So the first thing is the mindset. Your goal, what success looks like to you with your family fitness, is to make it a long-term habit versus short-term gains. And so what I mean by that is your goal isn't to take a child from 1 push-up to 100 push-ups in a row. Your goal is to take a child who's not sure about exercise and make it part of their daily habits and routine. And one tactic on how we do that is we wake up, when the kids wake up, it's part of our morning routine. They have a small bout of exercise. It's about 5 minutes. It's a habitual, and it happens every day. Mel, could you tell them roughly what it is?
Sure. It's usually 2 20-second hangs from the bar, 2 30-second planks on the floor, 60 squats, and maybe 5 push-ups. And I'm a big fan of charts. One of our kids was struggling to get it all done, so I just made him a checklist. That's pretty much all it is, about 5 minutes.
And the reason why I don't think that's going to turn them into superhumans is going to turn them into people who appreciate exercise, and they do it without complaint. I'm not saying wake up and do 100 burpees. Like, that stinks. You wake up with a bad attitude every day, but doing a couple basic things for your movement really helps kids. So the goal is to make it simple and doable, set them up for wins versus set them up for gains initially.
And they come upstairs with some energy. And even if that's not what they initially thought it was about, or even if they think that is now, they come up, they're ready to go. It gets the blood pumping. It's got a lot of other benefits.
It gives them some self-confidence and pride in how they wake up as part of their routine. And the reason why is because I'm not setting them up for failure right off the bat. It's not things that they can't do. Sometimes we tweak it, but that's not their only exercise. So it's just basically, hey, we want to make this a habit. And habits are things you do and should front load when you have the most willpower and control over your schedule. So in the morning, that's when we do our reading. That's when we do our journaling. Mel and I go for a little walk in the morning to get some sunlight to build our energy. So we start in something similar, but we try to front load our most important habits in the day. And so that's what we do with the kids as well. Number 2, don't be afraid of them seeing you struggle. So outside of a very basic morning routine, perhaps you start doing some workout with them. And I do recommend that. And it could be 2 to 4 days a week where you're spending 30 to 60 minutes together. If you're not in great shape yet, that is perfectly fine. It's not about where you are right now. It's about where you're going in the path you are on. That is critical to understand. Don't say, I'm out of shape, I can't do that. Now you're not on the right path, and that's not good. If you say, I am out of shape and I want to improve and I'm going to do these couple things with my kids, that is a totally different place to be at mentally, with your own self-confidence, with your own personal pride. And so you have to get over yourself a little bit and understand there's things that we're not going to be good at.
And I don't know if you're going to touch on this later, but this is a great topic for a family meeting. Kids have awesome ideas of how you can spend time together working out. It can be taking a walk together after dinner. It could be a hike on the weekend. It can be an actual workout with push-ups and things like that. But I think even getting their buy-in, and it even helps you stay more accountable if you throw it out to them like, hey, I want to start this habit as a family. What suggestions do you have? Maybe they like to sprint. Maybe they like to bike ride. There's so many different options, but making it a family endeavor is really great.
And another good thing is you don't spring it on it. You get their buy-in, like at a family meeting. And so if you don't know how to do family meetings or morning routines, we do give that completely for free away on the website. So we're not going to dive into that right now. But if you haven't been on the strongfamilyproject.com site, you click over to Strong Family Path. It is the free PDF you get over there. So I'm not going to dive into it, but there's going to be some things that'll make this way easier if you take the initiative to pause and just go download that. All right, so on that one as well, don't be afraid to use struggling. I'll give some examples so I can be humble on it. Some of the best things kids can do are hangs and crawls because they are pretty good at it. They're naturally good at it. They are way better at bear crawls than I am. They can bear crawl all around and have 41, 6'5", 235. It's not pretty to see me crawl like an alligator or whatever they're really good at, or bear crawl backwards. The kids are like, oh, this is so easy. And that's okay. That's okay to see, and actually good for them to see you work through something that is a challenge, because it lets them know that it's okay. Parents' big job is to let kids that know, like, a lot of things are okay, whether it's a stressful situation, whether it's a external force, whether it's we come across a lot of animals out here, whether it's a social situation, whether it's public speaking, whether it's trusting somebody else. Like, a parent's big job, summarized, to let kids know it's okay. And this is a great opportunity. Let sweat, make yourself a little hard work, puddle of sweat on the floor. That's perfectly fine. Don't drive with the brakes on when you're dealing with your family. This is a powerful opportunity. And if you're not in the best of shape yet, perfectly fine, as long as you get on this path. And that'll be a powerful relationship builder. And your kids will say, you know what, mom or dad, they held me so highly that they wanted to change their lives for me, and they started doing this thing with me, and I got to help them, and that builds their self-confidence.
Sure does. I love that the kids can see us as works in progress as well. I think sometimes kids falsely think their parents have everything figured out, and when they see you struggle and push through that, they will see that we are works in progress as well, and that's almost empowering for them.
Kids are not a reason to skip your exercise. Kids are a reason to do your exercise. You got to flip that mindset, even if you struggle. Number 3, come up with a standards test. I was talking to the buddy Rudolfo about this recently. He's got one for his family. We've been using that morning routine as a standards test, but I think quarterly you should be doing a little bit of a basic fitness test. And I would even use the word test because it's an opportunity for you to teach the kids that it's not a really negative thing. Sometimes the word test gets these negative connotations. Okay, it's just where you're at. And when you do it together with them, you're guiding them through and showing them that this is okay. And so an example of a standards test, you're going to have to make it age appropriate, but it could be run 1 lap on a track, do a plank for as long as you can, hang from a bar as long as you can, do a wall sit as long as you can. And you do that quarterly and see where they're at. That's a real basic one, but that could be used for any age level. Like, I stink at wall sits. And actually, I stink at planks too. People do 5 or 6 minutes. Like, 1 minute, I'm shaking. However, come up with a standards test that is doable, but not in itself a terrible exercise day. Here's what I mean. If you pick a standards test that's do 150 burpees for time, go run 5 miles, and then bear crawl as fast as you can 400 meters. Like, that is awful. That the kids will dread and hate. Instead, choose something that's like an upper body, like I said, like a hang, a core, like a plank, a leg, like a wall sit, a conditioning, like a jog. Pick one for each of those categories. And that day in itself should not be crippling workout. It's just testing your standards on where you're at.
Yeah, baselines are really important, because what if you do that 3 months later, the kids then see, hey, the first time I hung 20 seconds, now I can hang 30. Seeing progress is great versus just trying to remember what you did. it's really not helpful when you don't see the progress. So I think baselines are super important.
And it also holds them accountable because they know that there'll be a little bit of a test going. And if they slide back, it's a great opportunity for you to have the conversations on how you can tweak things and tweak habits, and also explain how things happen when they grow. So a child could plank for a while and then they go through a growth spurt and it's not that great the next time. And that's okay too. You got to help guide them through it. There's going to be ups and downs. If you teach them there's only ups with exercise or anything, you're misguiding them. So help them work through it while you're there. Show them that it's okay. Next one, weekly commitments is where they get to pick something. So again, you got to download the path at strongfamilyproject.com, but the kids set their annual goals of things that they want to do, whether it's big mountains or learn how to 3D print or all these different things. Each week at the family meeting, they pick a commitment to help them along to reach that goal. And so those weekly commitments are great self-led, accountable exercises for them. So for example, and this example might not hit for every parent because it is rare, and it wasn't me when I was younger, but Henry wanted to do 1,000 pull-ups or 1,011 pull-ups on his 11th birthday. Okay, that's what you want to do by your birthday. Your birthday is this many months away. What do you need to do this week to help? I'm going to start doing 20 extra pull-ups in the morning, or I'm going to start hanging from the top of the bar instead of at the bottom, or I'm going to do 5 pull-ups. Like, he would switch it week to week and make different commitments so that he would see how that progress helped him towards his specific goal. A more accurate one would be like, hey, I want to go out and experience some more in life, go on some hikes or something like that. Okay. Logan's weekly commitment was climb the mountain behind our house 3 times. And that's what it was for a few months, because it wasn't to experience more in life. It was because he wanted to be in shape for his first ever football season. And so he committed to do 3 mountains per week for that purpose. And it was up to him to go do it and mark it down. And some days he'd wait to the weekend and have to do a double and he started to plan better his exercise. And then he got to see the benefits as he hit practice where, it's his first year and there's a lot of skills that need to be learned, but he can keep up on the conditioning and he's not gasping for air. He's able to run with the lead pack when they're doing their laps and things like that. So he's building up wins based on what he committed and executed on.
And we make sure that he understands that the work he put in during the summer with the climbing the mountain is why he's reaping benefits now. I think a kid might just start playing and for them, they just don't get gassed. They're like, oh, I guess that's just what I'm like. No, it's because you put the work in all summer. It's because you climbed the mountain all summer. I was really impressed. I went with him a couple times and he didn't even have to stop at all, where he used to have to stop quite a bit. So I think it's important to point out to the kids, like, hey, you did all this work the last 3 months and now you're reaping the benefits. And I want to make sure that you make that connection.
It's the built, not born with it mindset. And you can be born with a little bit extra athleticism or a little bit better conditioning or a little bit better strength. But that's just the base level. That'll get you in the game. If you want to be better at something and excel at something, you have to build it. So there's some natural abilities, and some of the best athletes have that natural ability and then they build on top of it. But it's just not assuming some people have it and some people don't. No, you can have it too.
I want to give the opposite example. So there's a lot of kids that were trying out for soccer. And about a month before soccer started, the coach posted on this Sports U website, we're starting in a month, make sure your kids are doing something to get back into shape if they've just been sitting around. And there's a number of kids who basically showed up at practice the first day and either got injured, pulled muscles because they did nothing over the summer. So the point here, what you're saying is we need to plan for the future. You need to plan and always have this consistent exercise going on or some level of fitness, so when things come up, they don't just fall apart. The kid had to miss an entire week of practice because his leg is pulled. And it's disappointing for the kid, of course, but looking back, could they have been doing things all summer to prep for that? And that's what we're talking about.
And throughout this process, you're teaching your kids a framework to how to accomplish goals, how to build self-confidence, how to be more resilient, and how to understand it's within their power to get the things that they want if they put the work in. Along the same lines, a coach put out same message or similar message, like, hey, if you want to make the A team, because there's so many kids trying out, you have to be able to juggle a ball 25 times in the air off your foot. At that time, Henry was at 10 or 11. But he applied to the framework, hey, I'm going to work on the skill. I'm going to weekly commitment. I'm committed to try to get 25. And within a week of practicing it and putting it into the framework, he was able to get 25, built his self-confidence like crazy, and had a really good tryout.
Even with, I think the coach pointed out to him that he was struggling with his throw-ins because he was lifting his foot up, which I guess you can't do. So he was throwing the ball off the wall the other day, and I'm like, "Are you practicing like basketball now?" He's, "No, I'm practicing my throw-ins." So he took that. I mean, that's a really good skill to be coachable. He took what the coach said, came home, and was working on it, and he understands the goal he's going towards.
You work on things at home. You just don't assume it all. It just happens magically at practice.
And I know we're giving these great examples of Henry, and some kids aren't as self-motivated, so we need to maybe sometimes help them along. But he, for example, is, so it's really awesome to point out that he's doing these things because he has a goal in mind. And if your kid isn't as self-motivated, it's great to sit down and figure that out with them and see and get their input, what they can do to help them get to that goal.
Number 5, have options and have a child-led day out of those 2 to 4 days that fit for your family schedule. A little follow the leader around the gym, little freestyle for the kids so that they can lead and coach as they have been coached is a really powerful opportunity. Again, we're talking self-confidence. They're public speaking, looking someone in the eye and giving good instruction. If you have a child-led day, yeah, you're not going to be your big bench press day or anything like that, but you got to put yourself aside and understand that you can actually get a lot of value out of it because the things that they're good at are probably not the things that we're good at. And so at least a portion of it, even if it's 10 minutes, like, all right, for these next 10 minutes, we're going to do freestyle exercise based on what you want to do. Sometimes they'll pick stretching. Sometimes Everett will pick treadmill sprints or like parallel bar things, or farmer's walk. He's one of his favorite, just walks with the dumbbells and everyone holds it. He loves coaching. He loves counting the sets and reps, and he loves that opportunity. So it really gets his buy-in to the process by having that child-led day instead of always being coached. It could be a small portion of one day based on their age, but it is a powerful day.
Each person in your household holds value. And this is another way to help the kids especially see that they hold value, that what they think can be taken seriously. I told mom to do 10 push-ups and now she has to do it. Like, it gives them a sense of control, it gives them a sense of value, and it's a lot of fun.
Number 6, change this mindset immediately. Exercise is punishment. If you believe that exercise is punishment, you need to change that mindset. So if you believe that exercise is punishment, because that is ingrained in a lot of us, a lot of this comes from deficits that I had as a child. When I was in college, I was like 300 pounds. I did not view exercise as something that was beneficial to me. It was like, all right, I'll do this exercise because it's beneficial to the sports outcome from playing college football. During the summer, I'd go through the motions of the packet they gave us for summer workouts. And if you were late to practice, you had to run because that was a punishment. Running was a punishment for something you did bad. And if you jumped off sides, you had to do up downs. And yeah, I get some of that stuff. Like, you have to be very fatigued to be able to execute a sport when you're tired. And so I understand that. However, if that's the only perspective that kids are taught, it's going to be challenging for them to overcome that later in the life. Like, why am I going to go punish myself? Why am I going to do this exercise thing? I better get the outcome that I want immediately, and then I can quit. And they don't view it as like a long-term benefit to their health, their longevity, their joint health, their functional health. So not just lifespan, but their actual health span, I believe is what Peter Attia calls it. Like, you can get to 60 and maybe live to 80, but at 60 you have knee replacements or can barely walk up a flight of stairs. Those last 20 years aren't so great. And so that happens when you view exercise as a punishment and you have to do it to get this one outcome, or it just won't work long term. It won't be sticky.
Well, this reminds me of the have to versus get to. So if you're one of those people that says, oh, I have to get my workout in, I have to go to the gym, and it's like you're moaning about it, versus I get to do a workout, I get to go to the gym. Or even if like you can somehow bring these workouts home, which is what we're talking about, because I understand a lot of people go to the gym to get their workout in, but there's so many things you could do without equipment at home with your kids. But just to get that shift of mindset of, I get to do exercise, I get to be healthy, I get to show my kids what fitness is about, it really shifts the way you think about it compared to have to.
Let me give you one tactic. It's going to be tough to implement for some people to understand this mentally, but it's going to challenge you to see if you actually believe this or not. So I'd have a group I would exercise with on the weekends. I owned a series of training facilities. We'd close it down and we'd get crazy on the weekends. We're pushing sleds, we're doing Atlas stones, we're doing farmers walks, we're doing big weights, we're doing sprints, we're pushing cars out back, like the works of across the spectrum of exercise. And it used to be if you competed at something and you didn't win, then you would have to do extra exercise. If we did a bike sprint, Mel's favorite exercise, and we try to burn 20 calories as fast as we can, the loser would have to do an extra round. That's exercise as punishment. We shifted this maybe 15 years ago, a long time ago, where the person that did the fastest time got to go again. And everyone else could not go again. The person that won, that did the best, got to even get better. And everyone else, we would bust chops about it. I had to stand around and give them a little applause. It was like the victory lap concept. So if you're competing at something and the person loses, I got to go again because I lost. No, you don't get to go again. I get to go again because I've done the hard work and I won. Now it's time for my victory lap. Start cheering. Here I go. And that completely flipped the mindset of, all right, this is a punishment, to this is what got me the win, and I get to do a little extra. And sure, the other people could do extra workouts at some other time, but in that moment, it is to celebrate what exercise got you. And so if it's a 500-meter row or a skier or a bike or even a push-up contest, someone who does the most gets to do a couple extra, and everyone's got to cheer and appreciate them. And that concept of a little bit of friendly competition and winners get to do more really changed a lot of what we do.
I remember when you explained that to me, and it was
still
like,
foreign to you.
I know, I still have to wrap my mind around it, but I love the concept. It makes so much sense, and it actually pushes you to want to do more. If I have to do more because I lost, it doesn't really motivate me very well.
Yeah, and we would see some people know they're going to lose. They would dog the first one and the last one. Oh, I'm going to lose, so I'm just going to do this kind of half-assed, and I'm also going to do this extra one as slow as I can.
That's what I mean. It just makes exercise less enjoyable and you don't look forward to it as much.
Number 8, coaching cue for when you're leading your family. Don't use phrases like, you just got to get tougher and do it. Don't coach with demeaning phrases. They'll get that in life. It's not necessarily a totally negative thing that a coach says, hey, you got to get better at something. Hey, you got to get tougher. If it's true, that's fine to say. They're going to get that outside of your house, though. And if you're shifting gears to in your four walls, that's where you need to provide the support for them. So man up, you got to do this. Those phrases from a parent to child within their house for exercises are not as effective as we would hope. And if you use that coaching style, I'm just calling it out so you're aware of it. Sometimes it's holding the high standard, but in a caring way. So it's, hey, we're going to do 100 push-ups. And the kid says, all right, I'm at 10, I can't make it. So we're going to sit here and we're going to get 10 more. Then we're going to sit here a little, then we'll get 8 more. Then we're going to sit here and we're going to add them up till we get to 100. I'll do it with you. It's not, hey, get tougher, you can do it. Don't even say that to yourself. That mindset's just weakness leaving your body. All those hardo sayings that you hear at the gym or from coaches is perhaps how we were coached, and then we use what we were taught upon our kids. It's not the right avenue for it. When you're in a coaching environment, it could be different, and I'm fine with that. If a coach says, hey, you got to toughen up a little, you got to get this done. We have a game in 2 days. We have some time pressure on this, and they should be able to learn how to handle that feedback or even learn how to be coached in a different style. But at home, your goal is to support and hold the high standard in a supporting and loving and caring way. And often it is doing alongside of them. It's just being patient. Hey, I understand this is hard. I've got you. We're going to get this done together.
And oftentimes if we're doing a workout and we didn't quite start together and one person's done early, we all hang out till everybody's done. So it's not just, hey, I'm done, I'm leaving. We hang out and maybe we'll do something extra or we'll join in. So we make sure that we start together. Sometimes I'm late because I'm doing something else. But if we always try to end together, or if one person's done, either do more or stay and support that person that isn't finished yet. It's a team effort.
May have misread my numbers on that one. That was number 7 because I drew a little arrow because I wanted that one to go after exercise as punishment, to understand this is a way that you help teach them that it's not punishment. So my next one, number 8 this time, is why. Explain to them why to exercise. I explain to them like this. Number 1, and this is partially taken from, I want to give credit to Pat Mack, who's been on the Rogan podcast, and a few others, got some cool stuff out there. But number 1, you exercise to save your life. Number 2, you exercise to save someone else's life. And number 3 is my spin on it. You exercise to experience more in life. And so the exercise to save your life. My dad died in his early 50s because he was out of shape and had tons of health issues. He didn't take exercise seriously to save his life. Number two, save someone else's life. I've told the story on the podcast. I had to lift a motorcycle off someone a couple weeks ago and help get them off a highway to safety after they had a terrible accident without a helmet on a highway. And that is one of a couple of examples where things like that has happened in my life. There was another one with a car flip over that I responded to help get this person out that was upside. While this was a huge, busy highway, there's only two people, myself and this other lady that was like superhuman. We were able to physically respond to this accident. Everyone else pulled a cell phone out of their pocket and did only what they knew how to do, which is call 911 and call for someone else that is stronger and fitter to come save the day for this person who's hanging upside down in a car.
But even a less extreme example, a friend of ours was going on a hike and his daughter hurt her ankle and he had to carry her out. And the son noticed, wow, I'm so glad that my dad is strong enough to help my daughter or help my sister that way. That's really powerful.
It's hugely powerful that
Right.
you have this strength and you're showing it in your family. And number three, experience more in life. There is a lot of things on this earth that you can never experience unless you have the fitness level to do. There are beautiful things that you can never see or get to without the ability to walk for a little while, put some miles in, be able to help your family accomplish things. I see moms and dads on Instagram all the time out hiking and they're carrying their kids. Shout out to Mike, one of the dads I saw tackle with Carly, one of the peaks in the Adirondacks, carrying their daughter on his back. You get to experience so much more in life and more moments and more connection and more relationship building and more confidence building and more resiliency building and more strength building when you are fit.
And being that example is really important. It's sometimes I think to myself, I'll see some parents on the sidelines that aren't fit and their kids are playing a sport and I know they're supportive and excited. And I think to myself, are these kids going to stay fit and keep playing sports? Because at some point, you're not necessarily going to be playing sports anymore. So where is that going to go? Where is the fitness going to go after those high school sports are done? If it's not a continual process in the family with the role modeling of the parents.
And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example that should scare you on this one. Mel and I were chatting about it earlier this week from her past as a sexual abuse counselor for kids on what predators look for when they are looking for their next victim. And it's not really the individual, Mel. What is it?
It's whoever's the weakest.
Yeah, the weak parents. They look and they try to victimize weak people. You don't see strong people. You don't see someone who's going to do something negative to someone else in society go after the strongest ones. They always go after the weakest ones. And that is a very tough truth. And that speaks to one, your ability to save your life and your ability to save someone's life. If you have an absentee parent or very weak parents, your kids are now more vulnerable. And that is a very tough truth to swallow, but it is still true.
It is true. And the change really starts with you. That might be like a cliche, but it's true. It's hard to be able to pass these ideas along to kids if you yourself aren't able to self-reflect and start that process yourself.
Tough for me to even talk about that kind of stuff. So I'm going to shift on, but I wanted to at least say it because I'd be doing a disservice to you if I didn't. But what you did not hear on my list for why you should exercise is to look good in the mirror or shed a couple pounds. Those are side effects of my 1, 2, and 3. And your 1, 2, and 3 could be a little bit different. It could be very similar. Mine are similar to a gentleman that I shared that I learned it from years ago. But it's not, okay, yeah, looking good and feeling great in your clothes and feeling that extra energy during the day and your ability to execute on a day. Those are all great side effects of why you should exercise.
And sometimes those are the things that get you started.
Right.
But I think if I said to myself, I'm going to exercise because I want to lose 5 pounds, that's not relevant to my kid. So I think when you think about let's exercise as a family, let's do this as a family, all of a sudden the mindset immediately shifts. I want my kids to see that I'm doing this, not necessarily for my own personal like losing weight, but I want them to see that I'm choosing to be active so that maybe then they will be motivated to also be active. When they're adults, they'll look back, and this is really powerful. I don't think we think about this enough. We are the example that the kids are going to reflect on when they're adults. And maybe that's obvious, but sometimes it isn't. So if my kid sees me exercising every morning, they might just be sitting there and watching, but the fact that they see me doing it, they're going to remember that, and that's going to be important later on. But my original point was, I think that losing weight can be a great, like you said, side effect, but that might not be enough to get this whole family fitness process really off the ground.
Yeah, those are good starters, but something like weight loss or aesthetics has an end date. Once you accomplish it, like, why are you going to exercise now? You got your ideal weight. Like, why is it important? And you could go down a lot of different avenues. If it's not big fitness level activities, in Dr. Medina's Brain Rules book, the number one rule of having a high functioning brain to be able to operate in a lot of different environments is to exercise. It improves how you think about things. So if you're not doing it you don't have to lift tons of weights. It's to improve the function of almost every aspect of your life. Next one. Mel just touched on it, so I'm going to jump forward to it, which is role modeling. You want your kids to be able to say, my parents did this thing, and it must have been important because they did it regularly and they taught it to me. And this is my earlier point on, you don't have to be in shape right now to role model. That's not a prerequisite. Just simply getting on the path is where you need to be, and going down that path to help yourself and them. It can be a powerful journey together, even if you're not in shape and your kids say, I am important enough that my father or mother took the time to get in shape because they want to be around to see my kids, to see me get married, to see my grandkids, to see my college graduation. And I'm listening to a lot of stuff that my father was not there for. And your ability to role model shows them that it's important to you, even if you're starting at a spot where it isn't prime fitness, which none of us are starting at.
Well, here's an example. We've been going to basically all the practices because before school started, the practices are in the evening. We have to drive the kids there. We might as well stay and hang out. And I'd say 90% of the parents just sit in their cars with the AC running for the 2 hours at practice. Whereas I do this partially, but you especially will walk the track for 2 hours or do a track workout or just walk around the neighborhood or the area to get some steps in. Yes, it's hot out. Yes, we're all sweating. But like yesterday, we were out there walking a little bit, and then our little one was like playing with the dirt on the side there, and like creativity starts to come in that way. But my point is, here's an opportunity of time. Even if you walked for 30 minutes of the 2 hours, a lot of people just sit in their cars with the AC running when they could be role modeling. Our kid is on the field playing the sport. He sees that you are walking the track for an hour and a half. That makes a difference in the role modeling. And
I've taken some heat from other parents for this, but I'm not going to budge on it. Because I look over and I see those 10, 11 vehicles with air conditioning on. Parents are just sitting there. They use the excuse, I don't have time for my fitness. They're sitting there in the air conditioning car. And that is exactly what my father did. He was embarrassed of his fitness level to go out and watch us play and practice a lot. So he'd park as close as he could with the air conditioner on and sit in his truck. And I know some of the dads are sitting there and they're drinking alcohol in their truck, waiting for the end of practice to get their kids and then drive home. And that is not what I want to role model. I'm not making it about me by walking or running laps. We actually get there early, like 30 minutes early, so I can drop off Logan to get his pads and stuff on. That's when I'll go out and I'll run sprints and stuff because I don't want to detract from his, like, oh, look at me, I'm out there doing hard stuff. And then when he comes out, it's time for him, and I walk. Sometimes I'm walking slow. Sometimes I'm walking backwards, so I can just keep an eye on him practicing. But he's not going to see me park my ass in a vehicle and drink while he practices. That is never who I'm going to be.
Or scroll your phone.
And regardless of what other parents say, oh, you're making it about you by exercising. No, I'm making it about our family. Part of that family is me, and it is Logan, and it is the eyeballs that are on me and how I behave. And I'm not going to go down that path.
And the first week of football, soccer hadn't started yet, so Henry would tag along with you to get steps and just have one-on-one time with you.
Yeah, he'd put in laps. I would wear a kind of a weighted bag, just like a book bag, so it wasn't a big attention drawer, and I would be able to walk slower and still get my heart rate up, and Henry would be putting steps next to me. Everett would come out and put in some laps. So find those opportunities, but do role model. It is important to get on the path. Find time, even when it's hard, because that shows your kids that it's important, and that even when they say that excuse, oh, mom and dad were able to figure it out. There's a bunch of us that got us to all of our practices. Do you know what they did? They even would walk back and forth on the sidelines to make sure that they were taking care of themselves for us and for this family. Mel, do you have any more before I get into... Oh, no, I do have one more. I've been going out of order because you threw me off the role modeling one. Number 10, try to bridge gym life from real life with them. So there's a gym called, hey, I don't work out to lift more weights. I work out to experience more in life, and the other reasons I shared with you, which I hope don't come up, but do come up more often than I would like. And so if you go to like, all right, well, I'm going to move this pin one lower on the exercise, that's not really why you exercise. You need to teach them that they are exercising. For a lot of the examples I gave in this podcast, it could be save your life, save someone else's life, experience more in life. It could be to improve their brain function. It could be to have some more energy. Hey, you feeling a little tired? Well, I'm going to teach you that it's actually weird. You actually put some energy into exercise, but it actually gives you more back. And that's pretty wild. You need to bridge that gap and have those conversations with them on reasons why it exercises versus just gains in the gym.
The one thing I wanted to add simply is that there are so many activities that aren't necessarily gym related that still are fitness things to do. Walking, like jogging together, like hiking, like biking, swimming. I don't know. There's so many different things that can be done. So if you maybe, let's say you have a block in your mind for weights or weight training or the gym as it typically is thought of as, there's so many things you can do that don't involve that. And even if it's let the kids lead it, what did you do in gym class? Let's do that. So I think when we flip it on its head and see fitness as any kind of physical activity that can be done together. After dinner, we sometimes take a walk to the mailbox. Our mailbox is half a mile away. And the kids will often join us. Sometimes they'll hop on their bikes. So we're still together. We're still doing something fitness related, and we're still role modeling that.
And here's what I want to end with for you. I want to give you a simple program that you can follow. I've been training aggressively for 15 or 20 years now, even though I had played sports before and did exercise before. I didn't have the right mindset, and I didn't have a lot of these right, and that's why I want to share these with you. Like I said, I was over 300 pounds. My role modeling was someone who didn't have this down, and I had to figure out a lot of it, and I was able to find other role models external from family to draw from and be able to get my stuff in order, because I was not able to run the mile and pass the freshman fitness test when I was playing, and now I've done 100-mile ultra marathons. I was not able to get one pull-up on the presidential fitness test that they would have in school because we never did them. That was the only time I ever attempted pull-ups, was on that day up until 8th grade. And then I scheduled a day. We did 4,140 on my 40th to change the narrative of my life being unhealthy or on a healthy path when I was young. Thankfully, I played a lot of sports and I was very active, but you can certainly change where you've come from. And so I want to give you a simple exercise. The reason why I share that is because I actually follow this. And even though I say simple, it doesn't make it easy. You can scale it, progressions and regressions. And I'm not going to advise you go out and start pumping weights. If you want to have someone that has a higher exercise age, then you can start using weights. Regardless of actual age, what's your exercise age? Do you have a year or two of 4 days a week of working out? If not, your exercise age is 0 to 1, and that's perfectly fine to start with. I've been doing a program very similar to this for this 8 to 12 week cycle, and it still gets me. It's not easy for me because I scale it to make it harder for myself. So here it is. You want to pick an exercise each day that's a push exercise, pushing something, think push up, a pull exercise, a leg exercise, and a conditioning exercise. Now, if you're not an exercise science person, this is going to be super basic. And some people who are super nerds like myself might say too basic, but it's not too basic if it gets someone on the right track and makes a habit. And then you choose a total number of reps to get done for that exercise. For example, push-ups, 50. I'm not going to say pull-ups because that would be a more advanced exercise, but the supine rows Mel was talking about, it's the opposite of a push-up. So you're creating balance. You lay underneath a bar or a parallel bar, or you lay anything and grab it and pull yourself up to it 50 times. And legs, 50 body weight squats. Conditioning could be a half-mile jog. It really depends on your equipment, but some sort of conditioning. Now, you're not doing all the reps in a row. You do as many as you can with good form, and then you stop and take a 2-minute break, and then you do it again. So on the first day to 50 push-ups, it might be 10, take a 2-minute break. 10, take a 2-minute break. 10, take a 2-minute break. 8, take a 2-minute break. 7, take a 2-minute break. 5. Maybe I did that math right, but that gets you to a total of 50. And you just go as close as you can. You add up your numbers to get the total reps, but we're not doing it to failure because that's a mistake at the beginning. You have to make some neurological you have to get better at exercising, not to get too nerdy. You have to train your brain to fire the right muscles to do these. And when you go constantly to failure, you're too tired and your body will compensate to negative movement patterns. And so what you're going to want to do is you do as many as you can, and then you take a 2-minute break, not 30 seconds break. We're not trying to turn it into a puddle. So many people get that side of exercise wrong. There's rest built in so you can do this well. And then same with the other exercises. Same with the supine row. Same with the legs. Same with the conditioning. I'll give you an example of what I am doing right now. so it can make it more tangible perhaps. 5 days a week, I get up and I do 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 150 squats. And that's my push-pull legs. And then conditioning is I'll do my sprints at the field before practice starts, or I'll go for a walk with a weight vest on or whatever else. So I don't even actually do it during that time. And so for my pull-ups, it might be 17. Oh, I rest 2 minutes. 13, rest 2 minutes. 8. And then it starts to fall off a little bit, but they're all high quality reps. And then I complete all of that, and then I go to my push-ups. I might be 40, and then 30, and then 20, and then some 15s. I try to keep it above 15, but I go till I can't go anymore, and then I take a 2-minute break, because some of the best adaptations happen on the number of sets each week that come close to failure. And that's where a lot of growth happens. So when I was training to do the 4,000 whatever pull-ups in a day, I got really good at doing 5. I was never close to failure though. I would do 250 pull-ups a day, 300 pull-ups a day, 500 pull-ups a day, 1,000 pull-ups a day, 100 pull-ups a day, kind of cycle through like that. But it was always like 5s or less. And I could do that. But this 50, and pushing myself close to failure, I get real sore. Like my body's getting ready. All right, you got to get close to expanding your comfort zone. Kids can learn how to do that as well. Parents can do it. Their numbers of each set are now different because it's scaled to their ability level by do as many as you can, take a 2-minute break. Do as many as you can, take a 2-minute break. And so the sets, reps are all solving themselves. You don't have to be an exercise scientist for that. And my legs, 150 squats. 3 days a week, I just do them straight through, but the reps are a little bit slower and controlled. And a couple days a week, I try to do them quick, and I quickly burn out like 50 or so. But same rule, rest for 20, and then get back to it. And so for someone that I've done a lot of physical things. I don't want to seem like I'm bragging, but I've lifted a ton of weight, and this program still is what I would go back to for basics. And this program still helps me progress, and it still helps me get stronger, and it can be done with almost no equipment. The only caveat is perhaps the row one. And if you don't have anything to lay down from and row from, put something in a book bag and you bend over, row it up to your chest. Search bend over row if you're not sure, but you can do that with a book bag. So now you have no equipment. All you need is a floor and a book bag for push-ups, pull-ups, and bodyweight squats. And choose very doable numbers. Set yourself up for success. Do it for 4 to 6 weeks and then add a little bit of numbers. So maybe you start with 20 of each of those if you're starting off at the very basic. You do it 4 to 6 weeks, then you up it to 30. Then you up it to 40. You can go on this program for months, and they're all safe stuff with the kids, and you can do different variations. So push-ups could be just straight push-ups. They could be close grip push-ups. Could be alligator push-ups. They could be doing a little bear crawl and get into a push-up. And now you're starting to involve that childlike play while you're doing it. Similar with the rows, legs could be squats. It could be sit down on the couch and stand back up. It could be single leg stuff. It could be follow the leader lunges or follow the leader single leg RDLs or dyno walks if you start searching some of this stuff. But start with the basics of getting down a push-pull legs and conditioning that you will actually do and won't turn you into a puddle, especially if you're beginning at exercises, and then scale up from there. If you've done a ton of exercises, choose numbers like the ones I gave you for mine. The pull-up, push-up, squats, and you'd be surprised at how challenging that gets.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned how you can scale it based on the numbers. I think there's something magical about knowing the number you're going to. If you say, do as many push-ups till you can't anymore, like, I hate that because I always quit early. But I think that is really great to start with something small and then scale it up. And this, I think the other piece I wanted to add was, let's say you're not sure when this will be able to happen because your current schedule doesn't really allow for it in your mind. Maybe there's an hour of time where you're watching TV and you could do it then with your kids. So it can be like paired with something else that's already happening, and just give it a shot. Like, I think you will feel better after you do it, even if the initial mindset is like dread. I think if you get through it, oftentimes we'll start our workout and I might have my mind elsewhere. I'm always thankful I did it by the end.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm doing a workout like this is because I can do it in 30 to 45 minutes, and because I've got a lot going on right now, and it fits the season of life that I'm in. And as things get closer to the winter, I'll go back to some weight training and stuff like that. But right now it's hitting this, and Mel said you can even separate it. Maybe you only have 15 minutes free. Like, all right, we'll do the push-up portion right now with your family, and then you check off that box, and later in the day, maybe you have 10 minutes free. You can do the row portion, and then after dinner, you do the squat portion. You can chunk this up any way you want to make it habitual, and this will actually get you some results as well if it is a habit. And when I say you do it, like minimum 5 days a week. I'm going to throw it out there because you can start with easier numbers. I do this, Mel's with me 5 days a week, and then on the 6th day, which was today, I still tickle the weights a little bit to make sure that's still there. And then on 7th day, I do just straight walk conditioning, the bike riding, stuff like that. So it's a 7-day-a-week cycle and has been for years. So you're not going to overtrain from doing something like this.
But just to come back to the whole point here about this podcast is growing confident, independent, resilient children. So when you mention chunking it, let's say you have time in the morning for the push-ups or whatever, and then after dinner you do the other piece. I would imagine after dinner your kids are probably home, so they're seeing you do it. So I think it really comes back to that role modeling. I love that you had that on your list. So if they're doing it, they're more likely to join you. Hey, I'm about to do 20 push-ups. You want to come do a couple with me? Like, it already creates a situation, an opportunity, which I love that word, for your kids to join in if you're doing it in front of them. And you're much more accountable when you do it in front of your kids.
Visit us at strongfamilyproject.com where you can download the path that'll make this so much easier to implement. Any questions you have on this specific episode, do email us, and our email is on the website. You can Instagram message us at Official Strong Family Co. because we're going to have some more experts on this topic, and there is some more things to say, and especially on the tactical, what do we do? I gave you one option there with the body weight training that I highly recommend, but we're going to have some more experts. It's a circle that I run in a lot, so I'll be able to bring in some very cool people for you. And the better questions that you ask, the better that you will get personal answers. So don't be shy reaching out. Appreciate you listening to the episode. Looking forward to talking to you on the next one.